Tune in to the Diva Hustle Show.
Hey, you guys, thanks for tuning in to the Diva Hustle Show. Today, our guest is Ari. Ari is this co-founder, CEO, I'm sorry, of Chykalophia. Did I get it right? Chykalophia?
Chykalophia.
Okay. Thank you for joining us, Ari. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. So can you tell me a little bit about how did you start your company? What was your mission and purpose in starting?
Yes, of course. Gosh, I started the company maybe about 12 years ago now. We originally just a husband and wife, studio, doing a lot of design work, branding work, and also web work. But in the middle of it, we just realized that we couldn't do it, just the two of us, as much anymore. And we pivot into being an agency. And that's when we realized that we needed to hire, more team members to really help out really with the inquiries that coming in, with the projects that coming in. And now we're at 20 people. So
Okay.
we primarily work with women-led businesses in B2B tech, as well as femtech direct to consumer, on all things related to branding, user experience, web design, web development, all of those things. As long as it's in the web, we do it. And I would say a lot of the time, it brings me really great joy whenever I work with women entrepreneurs, because I feel like there's magic to it, right? There's a big reason why I ended up working with a lot of these women, because in the past, when I started my business, I gained a lot of support from these women entrepreneurs here in Chicagoland area, because I did not know what I was doing. And it can be really scary to embark on a journey of entrepreneurship, not knowing what do I not know and where do I seek those information. And I was just, very lucky to get the support that I needed. So now it's time for me to give it back.
And so so your company, y'all design websites, I was reading. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when a company, or let's say entrepreneur, is reaching out and would like to have a website design, what is the creative process for you guys?
Mm. That typically depends on what their needs, because at different level of business, different needs typically emerge, right? So for those who only have, hey, I have an idea of a business, but I have no clue where to start or even like make this into a reality, right? So we have a couple of clients who's like that, and they would come to us really seeking the guidance in terms of like, can you help me figure out how do I build the brand, how I really create the messaging and even like putting it up together on the website. So we would really take all of the ideas that they have, like where do they really want to go with their business, or even like what is that first version of this website and this brand could look like. So we would really combine all of our forces. I have, my team as well, who just really give me lots of idea when we talk with our clients, then how do we package all of these like different vision, different ideas and different goals, and putting it together into one cohesive thing, like, starting with the logo and then like the look and feel, and then putting all these messages into, your homepage. So I felt like it can be a lot at times, but this is what we do. Like we just guide all of our clients in one particular process, starting with the strategy. Once you're really honing in the strategy, everything else just becomes clear. The mistake that I've seen a lot of people do in the past is that, hey, I have this, idea for the business. Let's just, put together a website real quick. No, don't do that, because you don't have the full vision just yet, and you're gonna be like you're gonna keep like refining the website over and over again because you didn't have the right strategy in the beginning. So we always start with strategy.
And when entrepreneurs are reaching out, what are some of the misconceptions that they have when they're like you said earlier, like they have an idea of a business, so they're like, let me develop a website. What are some other misconceptions that you're running in that you see?
Yes, I see a couple more that I can share. I tend to see that they think of, whether it's just the website or whether it's just the logo, right? It's almost like a checklist in their minds. Like I have my business name down, I got my legal document down, like my next thing on the list is like the logo and then the website. And if you treat those items, like a list in your checklist, it's not going to give you the right result for, the long run. Sure, maybe in the short term it would work, but it won't really embody, what your business is all about, what your brand truly is going to become, right? Because you're just like putting together, like, this is good enough. Like, yes, to a degree, good enough is good, but wouldn't it be better if you really know what your brand is going to stand for, right? And what your core values is going to be, and who the right target audience that you want to really, target and become part of your brand, essentially, who's going to be loyal to you down the road. So I felt like a lot of the time people underestimate the power of like brand strategy and just like go along with the flow, trying to figure out, yes, for now we just target everybody and then we'll niche down later. No. You should be like doing it the opposite, right? You have to niche first and then expand your target audience as things work out for you.
And also, I see a lot of people, even not myself. I remember when I started my hair business and I did my website, and probably like 6 months later, I had to do it again. And you know what I mean? So that you see a lot of that. Like, so when is a good time to really have your website redesigned initially? Because, you first start out, like you said, your niche, you have your target market, but as you grow the business, you want to have your website done again.
Yes, that is true. And in terms of like figuring out when is that a good time, right? Is the 6 month a good time? Is it 1 year is a good time? I would say that really depends on where you feel your business at right now, right? For some people who, let's just say that this is your first year doing business, right? You got your website down, you got all of the, marketing pieces down, but is it working for you? A lot of the time people would try to make some changes on their marketing channels, including the website, because something is not working to what you need to do, right? Whether it's to gain more sales, gain more booking or whatnot, you need to figure out like what's currently working, what's not. If your website is the primary channel where you get more bookings or, more sales, then you need to figure out like what's currently not working on my website. Is it because people don't know how to reach out to me? Or is it because, maybe the booking actually is all the way on the bottom instead of on the top, right? So I would say contact either a web agency or hire somebody who really can do some audit for your website to figure out like what's currently not working. Because sometimes us as an entrepreneur, right, we see it all the time and we'll think like, oh, it's fine, it's working. But other people, your target audience, come to your website not realizing like, how do I use your website? Like, what is the information that I need and where do I find those? So you really need to get some perspective from outside, right? Whether it's like, contractor or maybe even your actual customers, and ask them, can you find, my booking in my website, or can you contact me through my website? So definitely, think about that first before redoing your website.
And another question is, so now that we're moving into AI, artificial intelligence, how do you guys use that when you're building a website, or are you just more sticking to your traditional, the process that you have, the strategy process you have in place?
That's a good question. We love AI. I feel like AI is just fascinating, right? Because it's really speed up a lot of our work. In the past, I felt like it taken us quite some time to do a lot of the manual work, especially when it comes to like building up imagery. So now that we have AI, for example, like Midjourney or DALL-E, or not even like Canva has its own AI, you can really put together really nice images for your website. So that has helped us a lot in it. Now, in terms of like website building specifically, I've seen a lot of different, I would say like tools, AI tools that can put up your website in a matter of like 15 minutes or 10 minutes. Like that is all great. And I would say if you really have a very strict budget on it, go for it. But don't discount the strategy piece of it, because again, it's just going to be like putting something on a template, right? But if you don't have the strategy, it doesn't matter whether it's an AI built website or you're having somebody else, the result might not be, as impactful as if you already have a strategy behind it.
Right. And so, what do you see the new coming trends coming in 2024 for website design, especially companies like you that are starting out or, been in business? What do you see coming down the pipe?
My gosh. Oh, I love trends. I think for 2024 specifically, you're gonna see a lot more, website that's more on the simplistic side, but also very much engaging because we now know how to really structure a website to the max, right? We know exactly, what to put on the top, in the middle, on the bottom, things like that, but also to gain more insights from AI tools, right? Some AI tools can actually give you insight in terms of like if you're doing an A/B testing, they would at least give you a recommendation. Hey, this version, maybe version A versus version B, has a lot more engagement because you put maybe a specific section on the top rather than on the bottom. So you can really quickly make those changes, right? And then gain the result even faster than before. So that's definitely one part of it, like leveraging the AI tools for insights. And then also just, quick access to updating your imagery. You don't need a ton of resources to take your own photos as much anymore. You could leverage, tools like Midjourney as well as DALL-E and Canva to populate those images. So it just become a lot easier to manage. And for a lot of people, there's so many different platforms out there to build website now. So you get to choose like how comfortable are you with the tools out there. If you don't like doing anything code related, you can always use Squarespace or Wix or even Webflow, right? There are just so many different options now. So it just makes things a lot easier for businesses.
And you touched on something I think a lot of people don't understand, because somebody was like, I think somebody reached out and was like, what's a good host? What is a host for a website? And I'm like, those are the people that, like a Squarespace, a Wix, a Shopify, those are websites that are hosts. And I think some people, when they're especially entrepreneurs, they sorry, my dog, they don't know which one to pick. So something that your company guides people through? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. What was the question?
Is that something that you guys guide, that you guide your customers through picking or hosting certain, picking hostings for their websites?
Yes, I think that's definitely one of the top questions we hear all the time, right? There are just so many different platforms out there. Which one is the right fit for us? I tend to say like it again. I think a lot of people would already know this answer. Like it depends, right? It depends on what you need. And on top of that too, it depends on like who's going to be managing these website for you, right? If you're going to be the one managing the website, then you need to really take into an account how comfortable are you with the technology? Like how easy do you want updating the website to be, right? So I think that take into an account for like self-hosted platforms like Shopify or even, Wix, as well as Squarespace and Webflow. For something a little bit more advanced, for example, like WordPress, that might need a little bit more code knowledge to it, or even like more comfortableness in using part of the backend version of the WordPress, right? So there's always this learning curve, but I would say depending on who it is that going to be managing your website, as well as like how involved will you be in the maintenance, as well as like the upkeep and stuff like that, that would help you determining which platform you need to use. On top of that, the other items that you might want to consider as well is how big will your business be? Like how can the website really accommodate your needs as you scaling and growing the business, right? You don't want to create a website that is too limiting right now, and then in the future you can't really do something a little bit more like custom or something more like comprehensive. So I feel like a lot of time you also need to understand like what are the capabilities of those platforms, as well as like who's going to be managing this for you, or is it going to be you and your team managing it?
And I think what you touched on is key. I remember I started out and I started off with Squarespace. And when I wanted to start adding services, because Squarespace recently, they just started adding more. They're not at the level of Wix, to my opinion. So then I had to switch domains to another host. And that's, again, that takes time because you got to release and all that kind of stuff. So I think what you're saying is true. You want to make sure that you're looking at the future when you're picking a host, because some websites, like you said, they have limited capacity. So if it's something like you want to do like e-commerce, and then you want to have like services, book services, and just add your scheduling and stuff like that. You have to, I feel like we as entrepreneurs should take that in consideration when we're picking a host.
That's right. We explain by we, I mean me and my husband, Peter, we're in the business together. We recently launched a book called Made to Sell.
Okay.
And that book, I felt like, has the most knowledge that an entrepreneur can have in their beginning journey of like working on your website, right? So we teach all the strategy pieces in connecting your brand with the user experience before you think through the platforms and technology for your website. So if you ever need additional guidance on that, definitely pick up the book and it will really guide you from the beginning to end.
Right. And what advice would you give to women and entrepreneurs that are looking to start businesses in web design and just don't know how to start or feel like, oh, I didn't go to school for this, I shouldn't start the business?
Yeah. Definitely look into a lot of tutorials online. I did that when I was starting off, even though I have my major in graphic design. I switched from graphic design into web design and digital design on my own. And it was really interesting to learn something that technically you have the knowledge, but it's different medium, right? And even harder for you if you don't have the knowledge at all and when it comes to design. So what do? I definitely would encourage learning a lot of tutorials online, as well as thinking through strategy behind web design, because a lot of those relate to user experience, relate to the business goals and all that kind of stuff. But even more so, just to really understand how to work with businesses as well as developers, right? If you are gonna be the designer, definitely understand how do I work with developers, because sometimes it can be really tricky to communicate your vision and ideas to developers, and then also still working with clients to figure okay, the clients want this and then the developer cannot do it. What do I do? What are the alternatives? So just knowing all of those resources will be very handy.
And that's good. And that's true, because I feel like whenever a business you're starting, you want to become a student and then you become a teacher. And you have a lot of people that wants to do web design, and a friend of she was a acquaintance. She started the business, but what she did was she would outsource it to other people, and eventually her business, she ended up going out of business because they have another time, and then the communication barrier was breaking down. So so the fact that you and your husband, you guys are doing this and y'all started from the beginning, so now whoever y'all hire, y'all can train them to do it. That was my point. Y'all not just taking it on and then outsourcing it and don't have a clue how to do it yourself.
Yes, I would not recommend that. That's definitely not a recipe for success, right? You'll need to at least know and understand the terms, the jargons around it, or the inner insights, I guess, between what the resource is going to look like, as well as how to communicate that with the client. I feel like it's great that you can outsource, but you also need to understand what is going on and how to deliver those solutions for your client, right? So I 100% agree with what you said earlier.
And if people want to get in contact with you to book a consultation, what's the best way?
The best way will be to go to my website, so chykalophia.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn.
All right. Well, thank you, Ari, for stopping past and telling us about your business. Anytime you feel like you want to come back, you're always welcome to come back and talk about your business and web designs and other services that you guys offer.
Thank you for having me.
Tune in to the Diva Hawks Show. Motivate the glow. We give you more info. Think to my head to toe. I let the whole world know. I let the whole world know.